Hi, Jason Sulliman here. For today's Friday teaching talk, I want to talk about the concepts of consistency and repetition. I hear these words being used quite a bit, and I don't think they mean what we think they mean. In fact, I think the concepts are a myth, and I think the concepts are not what we're going for if we're trying to master our instruments. So let's talk about them briefly. The concept of being consistent refers to doing something at supposedly a high level time and time again. The concept of repetition refers to repeating the same action. It makes sense that if we repeat the same action, we're going to become consistent at that action. But is consistency really what we want? In my opinion, consistency refers to maintaining a certain level of quality. And in actuality, if we're trying to become masters of something, we would want to be constantly getting better and better and better. I would further say that consistency doesn't really exist. Consistency only exists in the minds of others, and here's how. Let's say I'm a bass trombonist, which I am, and I play my instrument at a certain level at a certain time, and somebody hears me play. And then I play again, and somebody says, wow, that person's really consistent. What they're really saying is that according to their perception, both of the times that they heard me, or out of several times that they've heard me, multiple times that they've heard me, I sound the same. I have a similar level of quality, and so they say the word consistent to imply that that is the level of quality that I play at. But the truth is, if I'm doing it right, I might notice subtle, nuanced differences between each of those performances. I might be striving for levels of improvement and levels of nuance that are beyond the scope of what they're perceiving. So to their perception, it sounds the same. But to my ears and to my vantage point, it's not the same. So the concept of consistency doesn't really apply to me for myself. It applies from an outside view looking in. And I would think that anyone who is at a clearly higher level than what we are currently at is going to appear to be consistent. To me, there are some high-level players that just sound great every time. But their opinion might be quite different from that, in that when they perform, they might be noticing certain things that are better or worse this time or that time, and there might be certain aspects of their playing they're trying to improve. So I think we need to rethink the way that we talk about and use the word consistent. I don't think consistent should be the goal. It's very similar to habit, and in a way, I think habits can also be detrimental. Let's talk about the word repetition. To repeat something is to do it the same way again. Again, I take issue with that. I don't think that's what we're trying to do. If we're truly trying to master something, then we would want to make sure that it's a little bit better every time. If it's a little better, that means it's different than what it was before. If it's different than what it was before, that means it's not a repeat. It's a new thing. And I think we need to treat it as such. So instead of using phrases like repetition with attention, or mindful repetition, or focused repetition, and we have all these different ways of saying repetition, I think the word repetition needs to be reconsidered. I would argue that we need to make mindful progress. When you make mindful progress, what you're doing is actively making something, and I think that's an important component of what we're talking about here. Progress meaning there is a progression, there is slight change, there is evolution in our playing. Improvement over time. So with my students, I like to say make mindful progress. Yes, you will play it more than once. And so in some ways you could use the word repetition, but I think repetition harbors implications that I'm not really down with. Now that we've talked about the concept of mindful progress and the questionable use of the word consistency, or the use of the word repetition, let's talk about the 4 levels of success. We often try to reach a level of success in our playing. I think the most basic level of success is survival. If I'm playing something, if I'm practicing a lick or a passage, and I get to the point to where I play it well, then I would say I have played it well. But to play it well only once indicates to me survival. I have played it well. The next level up in terms of being successful, I think, is capable. Capable is where I can play it well. That means that I've continued to have mindful progress beyond the point of survival. And now I'm at the point where I can play it well. I don't maybe play it well every time, and I have to think about it and be very mindful about my approach, but I can play it well. The next level up in terms of success, I would use the word proficient. Proficient is where I do play it well. So after I've reached a level of survival and I continue to make mindful progress in my quality of play, and I get to the point to where I can play it well, but then I continue to have more mindful progress and I get to the point to where I do play it well. It just becomes who I am. We might use the phrase consistency at this point, but again, consistency is not something that we would perceive. Consistency is something that is perceived by us, by others. Therefore, I don't like to use the word consistent. But either way, proficiency, I would say, is the third level of success. I can play it well. I think there's another level of success at the top, and I use the word mastery. For me, mastery is another way of saying I do play it well, easily. And we often don't have time to get to this final level. So again, survival, I have played it well. Capable, I can play it well. Proficient, I do play it well. And mastery, I do play it well, easily. I think to truly master something, you have to use the least amount of physical effort possible. And it's no surprise that when we see the great masters of our instruments perform, there is an ease to the way that they do it. It just looks so easy. And I think that's trainable. So when you're practicing, ask yourself, are you thinking about consistency? Because you probably shouldn't. Consistency is for other people to think about. If you are truly going to be making mindful progress in the way that you play something, you've got to be going after it in a level that might be beyond what other people are perceiving. That means it's not consistent. It's constantly getting better. Are you thinking about repetition in your practice? That means you might be mentally checking out a little bit, and you might not be actually making progress with each of those attempts that come after the first. I don't want to use the word repetition. I want to use the words mindful progress. And when you reach a level of success, when is it that you feel it's appropriate to move on to something else? Is it when that you have survived it? Is it when that you've demonstrated you're capable? Is it when you've demonstrated you're proficient? Or is it when you've demonstrated mastery? Think about this the next time you go to a practice session. Thanks.